Hello! Right at this moment, we are facing a serious weather situation. A rain warning has officially been issued for eastern Scotland over the next 24 hours. And this is not a procedural warning. This is a genuine wake-up call, because heavy rain will continue to pour down relentlessly as a low-pressure system remains almost stationary right above us, trapped by a blocking high-pressure system to the north. When a low-pressure system does not move, the weather cannot be cleared. And when the rain does not move, the consequences are no longer confined to forecast charts. Perhaps never before has the question, what will the weather be like next week, attracted so much attention. And whether you are hoping for sunshine, rain, snow, or simply a few calm days, I have to be frank. The weather ahead is far from simple, and it carries risks that could threaten lives if we become complacent. To understand what is about to happen, we cannot look at just one day or two. We must step back and examine the global atmospheric picture, because what is about to affect the United Kingdom is not coming from a single direction, but from a violent collision of two massive atmospheric forces. And if you are listening to this bulletin while rain taps against your window, let me say this: you are not alone. Today, the skies over England and Scotland remain heavy and oppressive. Rain, still rain, and not just brief showers, but a prolonged, persistent spell of wet weather, quietly accumulating risk. The current focus of dangerous weather is shifting toward the northern regions, where the atmosphere seems to have no intention of showing mercy. In particular, eastern Scotland is entering a worrying phase, as accumulated rainfall begins to rise sharply from this weekend. Not loud, not sudden, but extremely dangerous. Rain warnings have been issued for multiple areas, including Aberdeen, Perth, and Kinross. These are not routine alerts. Meteorological models indicate that rainfall totals could exceed 120 millimeters within just a few days, an amount sufficient to trigger serious flooding, landslides, and a complete overload of local drainage systems. And the story does not end there. In the Grampians, as colder air gradually moves in, rain will turn to snow at higher elevations. Snow is expected to begin from around 300 to 400 meters, then steadily accumulate by Friday morning. This creates a dual risk: flooding in low-lying areas and icy conditions with transport disruption in higher terrain, a weather scenario that emergency services must monitor hour by hour. It is not just rain and snow. Strengthening southeasterly winds are quietly developing. They not only drive down the perceived temperature, but also push larger waves toward coastal areas, particularly along the east coast. Combined with high tides, the risk of coastal erosion and coastal flooding cannot be ignored. Elsewhere, most of us will continue to experience scattered rain, thick cloud cover, and high humidity. Heavier bursts of rain are pushing into parts of the southwest, while a rare clearer spell may appear in the far southwest later this evening. However, this is only a small exception within an overall picture that remains very gray. Along the eastern coastline, it will feel noticeably cooler as easterly winds begin to dominate. These winds will strengthen toward the weekend, allowing the chill to penetrate deeper, even though actual temperatures remain slightly above average, much like yesterday. Tonight, winds across western areas are expected to ease slightly, but rain will remain persistent in northern Scotland, while snow continues to fall over higher ground. Meanwhile, a drier air mass will spread across Wales and central England, opening the door to the development of dense fog on Friday morning, particularly hazardous for early morning travel. But do not let clearer skies deceive you. The next low-pressure system is quietly approaching, expected to move into the southwest as early as Friday morning, bringing heavy rain and strong winds. With clearer skies overnight, temperatures will drop rapidly, commonly down to just 4 to 5 degrees Celsius by early Friday. Combined with cold easterly winds, the wind chill will feel significantly harsher, especially across Scotland. Northeastern Scotland will continue to endure another bleak day, with rain warnings remaining in force through Friday. Meanwhile, this low-pressure system will push a band of rain across the country, interspersed with scattered showers and only a few rare sunny intervals. The risk of heavy rain remains high, But what requires especially close monitoring is the potential for strong winds to develop around the low-pressure center, particularly in parts of Cornwall. This is a factor that could cause conditions to deteriorate rapidly within a short period of time. By Friday afternoon, conditions may turn slightly drier, but they will remain highly unsettled. Overall, Friday will be a cooler, uncomfortable day, and instability will continue to dominate southern areas as we head into the weekend. Meanwhile, easterly winds across northern regions will continue to strengthen, maintaining a cold, damp, and oppressive feel, a clear reminder that winter has not yet loosened its grip. This is not an explosive burst of extreme weather, but a slow, cumulative buildup of risk. Monitor warnings closely, avoid unnecessary travel in high-risk areas, and always prepare for a worst-case scenario, because with weather like this, even a small change can lead to major consequences. Perhaps never before has the question, "What will the weather be like next week?" attracted so much attention. Over the next 10 days and even beyond, the weather of the United Kingdom will be governed by two key factors. First factor, a cold air mass is forming and strengthening over northeastern United Kingdom, originating from Scandinavia. Not the most severe cold outbreak ever recorded, but cold enough to completely alter the weather pattern, especially across northern and eastern areas early next week. This cold air will expand across the North Sea over the weekend, and the United Kingdom will certainly feel its impact. Temperatures will fall, easterly winds will strengthen, and the bitter chill will become clearly noticeable, particularly in Scotland and northeast England. If this were the only factor, the forecast would be relatively straightforward. Cold easterly winds, scattered sleet and snow, temperatures below average. But in reality, it is far from that simple. Second factor, and the more dangerous one, an exceptionally strong cold air mass over North America, so intense that temperatures in New York this weekend could drop to -7 degrees Celsius. The crucial point is, this cold air does not travel directly across the Atlantic to the UK, but it creates a massive temperature contrast when it collides with warmer air over the southern United States. And it is precisely this contrast that strengthens the upper-level jet stream. At present, an unusually powerful jet stream is racing from North America across the North Atlantic, but positioned farther south than normal for northwestern Europe. The consequences: Atlantic low-pressure systems become deeper and more intense. They carry heavy rain and violent wind gusts, and they crash directly into the cold, dry air mass over northeastern United Kingdom. A dangerous collision, weather becomes unpredictable. This is no longer the familiar mild, wet, windy winter pattern, nor is it a purely dry, cold winter setup. This is a dangerous blend of both. Some models show Atlantic low pressure dominating. Others lean toward cold easterly winds. The truth is very likely somewhere in between, and that is exactly what makes the situation complex and risky. One extremely important consequence of this collision is weather systems will slow down. And when weather systems slow down, rain no longer passes through quickly. It falls persistently. Persistent heavy rain, serious flood risk. The first low-pressure system does not sweep from west to east as usual. It slows down and winds rotate more toward the southeast. Direct consequence: eastern Scotland becomes a dangerous hotspot. Strengthening southeasterly winds will force moist Atlantic air up over the hills, producing intense orographic rainfall. Forecast rainfall totals widespread 60 millimeters, over hilly areas 100 millimeters or even more. Flood warnings have been issued. Rapid river rises, saturated ground, and the risk of landslides, flash flooding, and transport isolation are entirely real. As colder air pushes further in from now through Friday, part of the rainfall will turn to snow, mainly above 400 meters. This is partly positive as it reduces surface runoff, but it also introduces a new hazard: deep snow, icy roads, isolation risk in higher areas. Not just Scotland, the whole UK is affected. From Wednesday through Thursday and Friday, many places across the United Kingdom could record 50 millimeters of rain or more. Southwest England, South Wales, and Northern Ireland will face intense heavy rainfall, strong winds, very unsettled conditions, and the risk of localized flooding. It may be temporarily drier in East Anglia or parts of northern Scotland, but overall, the entire United Kingdom remains locked in a state of dangerous instability. The weekend. Easterly winds, colder, but not settled. By the weekend, these systems continue to move very slowly. Low pressure gradually weakens, but colder southeasterly winds begin to dominate. Saturday. Heavy showers, strong gusts across southern and southwestern areas. Eastern Scotland and northeast England, rain at low levels, snow on the hills. Sunday. Noticeably colder, some areas turning dry with sunshine, but sleet and snow continuing in the northeast. Next week, the first major snow question mark. By Monday, a band of heavy rain from the Atlantic is expected to move into Northern Ireland, Wales, southwest England. When it encounters cold air, rain could turn to snow. Where will snow fall? The answer depends on a shift of just a few tens of kilometers in the low-pressure track, a very small difference, but with completely different outcomes. Some scenarios show snow initially falling across the Midlands, Wales, and the north before turning back to rain. Other scenarios show cold easterly winds dominating, snow becoming heavier and more widespread. Why is the forecast so difficult? Because the atmosphere operates under chaos theory. A small change in North America, slightly colder or slightly warmer, can flip the entire European scenario within just a few days. When running dozens of simulations, wet, windy, milder Atlantic-dominated scenario, 49%, colder, drier, easterly-dominated scenario, 33%, and the remainder lies between those two extremes. Warning: the next 10 days will be a period of dangerous, complex, and highly unpredictable weather. Flooding, strong winds, snow, icy conditions. All are possible. Some scenarios could genuinely threaten life if treated lightly. Most important message: do not focus on a single day's forecast. Follow official warnings closely. Prepare response plans, and treat this as a period of weather that demands absolute respect. In the coming days, one of the biggest questions that both meteorologists and the public are asking is, will it just be rain, or will it turn into snow? It sounds simple, but in reality, the answer is far more complex and far more dangerous than many people realize. In the current setup, the boundary between cold rain and snow is not hundreds of kilometers wide. It is only a few tens of kilometers. All it takes is the center of a low-pressure system shifting by 30 to 50 kilometers, the wind changing direction a few hours earlier or later, cold air pushing slightly farther south, and the outcome can be completely different. One area sees torrential rain and flooding, while a nearby area experiences heavy snow and transport paralysis. This is exactly why forecast maps keep changing color day by day, and why no one can afford to be complacent. Many people think snow only happens when temperatures drop below 0 degrees Celsius. In reality, that's not necessarily true. In the coming period, surface temperatures will generally sit between 2 to 6 degrees Celsius, but aloft the air can be cold enough for ice crystals to form. When precipitation falls from higher levels, if the cold layer is deep enough, snow reaches the ground. If the cold layer is too shallow, snow melts, turning into cold rain or sleet. And the depth of that cold layer depends directly on the position and strength of the low-pressure system. Over the next 10 days, Atlantic low-pressure systems will move unusually slowly, frequently become trapped between high-pressure blocks, continuously interact with cold easterly and northeasterly air. When a low tracks farther north, milder air pushes in, rain dominates. Tracks farther south, cold air digs in, snow becomes more likely. Just a small change in the track of a low is enough to completely flip the weather scenario. One of the most concerning scenarios is heavy rain lasting many hours or even days, saturated ground and rising rivers, cold air pushing south, rain turning into snow or sleet. The consequences: water has no time to drain before it is locked in by snow and ice. Roads become icy on already wet surfaces. The risk of traffic accidents increases sharply. High ground communities can become completely isolated. This is not the kind of weather that shocks immediately, but one that builds risk hour by hour. No historic blizzard is required. All it takes is snow falling during rush hour, or snow arriving after several days of rain. Just 3 to 5 centimeters of wet snow is enough to paralyze transport, cause vehicles to skid, trigger local power outages as trees fall and power lines become overloaded. And in strong winds, wet snow is far more dangerous than dry snow. Easterly and southeasterly winds in the coming days will not only increase the feeling of cold, they will force moist air up hills and slopes, enhance orographic rain and snow, push precipitation totals well beyond average forecasts. In higher areas, snow accumulates faster, visibility drops sharply, the risk of getting lost or injured in the hills increases. The biggest concern is not one bad day, it is many bad days in a row. Over the next 10 days, low pressure follows low pressure. Weather systems move slowly. There are very few genuinely dry days. Infrastructure has no time to recover. Ground does not have time to dry. Rivers do not have time to fall. Each new system adds another layer of risk on top of the last. Why do forecasts keep changing? Not because forecasts are poor, but because the atmosphere is in an extremely sensitive state. All it takes is a small change over North America, a cold outbreak being slightly stronger or weaker than expected, and a domino effect can cause European weather to flip within just a few days. Most important of all, don't ask, will it snow or not? Ask instead, how high is the risk? Because prolonged cold rain can be more dangerous than snow. Rain plus snow plus strong winds is the highest risk combination. The next 10 days are not a time for complacency. This is a period of weather that demands absolute respect. Right at this moment, we are facing a serious weather situation. Heavy rain will continue to pour down relentlessly as a low-pressure system remains almost stationary right above us, trapped by a blocking high-pressure system to the north. Low pressure, locked in. Rain becomes a dangerous threat. The high-pressure system to the north shows no sign of weakening in the coming days. On the contrary, it continues to block the movement of low-pressure systems, causing rainfall to become concentrated, prolonged, and persistent. That means not just today, not just tomorrow, but over the next few days and even into next week, heavy rain will occur on a widespread scale. This is precisely the most dangerous winter scenario. Prolonged rain plus already saturated ground plus strong winds plus low temperatures. Easterly winds arrive, but not enough to save the situation. Over recent weeks, we have repeatedly mentioned the possibility of easterly winds pushing in, bringing colder air. And yes, easterlies have appeared, but not as strong as expected. Forecast models have pulled back significantly in just the past 24 hours. What only days ago looked like a clear cold scenario has now been reversed. Cold air, still there, still very close to the north and east, but not strong enough to penetrate deeply into the United Kingdom. The result: most of us are stuck in the worst possible transition zone, not cold enough for snow, but cold enough for rain to feel biting. 5 to 6 degrees, heavy rain, strong winds. Cold, wet, harsh, extremely uncomfortable and dangerous. Snow? Yes, but only in a few places. There is still a chance of snow, but mainly over high mountainous areas of Scotland, not a widespread cold outbreak. Let's be honest, if you are waiting for a proper winter spell with widespread snow cover, today is a very hard day to watch. The models came very close and then turned away. Looking at the live radar right now, there is no single solid wall of rain. Instead, countless narrow rain bands following one another, and they are moving extremely slowly. Winds are currently blowing from the southeast to south-southeast, continuously drawing moisture from the North Sea into eastern Scotland. And that is why rain warnings have been issued for Aberdeenshire and surrounding areas. Frightening numbers. From midnight tonight until 6 p.m. tomorrow, widespread, 60 to 80 millimeters of rain. High ground, 100 to 120 millimeters. Some extreme spots could reach up to 150 millimeters. The risk of flooding, transport disruption, and community isolation is entirely real. Not red level, but more than enough to cause serious damage. Heavy snow at high altitudes, but only a small part of the story. The UKV model shows rain continuing through the night, the low-pressure system remaining stationary throughout Thursday. Over high ground in Scotland, rain turning into heavy snow, but at low levels, rain remains rain. Temperatures cold but not cold enough. Thursday, 6 to 10 degrees Celsius. Friday, 7 to 9 degrees Celsius. Saturday, 8 to 9 exists. Sunday, 6 to us. Monday, colder in the north-south, 7 to 11 exists. No deep cold. No widespread frost. Only cold rain. Strong winds. Prolonged harsh weather. Forecast models. A disappointing failure. The truth must be said plainly. The models overestimated the strength of the northern high-pressure system. The scenario, repeated for many days, very promising, and then collapsed right before go time. This is very similar to December 2021. Scandinavia frozen solid, deep snow. The United Kingdom, marginal cold. Persistent rain. Final straight talk warning. We are not entering a historic cold spell, but we are facing a prolonged period of dangerous weather. Slow-moving heavy rain, flooding, strong winds, coastal hazards. Highland snow, transport disruption. This is the kind of weather that causes accidents, not just discomfort. Respect weather warnings. Do not be complacent just because there is no snow. In many cases, prolonged cold rain is far more dangerous than snow. Thank you everyone for watching. Remember to like, share, and subscribe to the Mr. Tien channel so you don't miss the latest developments.